pounds a night, £200 a night.
Okay.
So you quote £12 or £15 for breakfast, and then of which the £200 is made up £185 for the room, £15 for the...
Good question. In some of the hotels, the bed and breakfast, I think the Nest bed and breakfast is the same price.
Right.
So there's still a breakfast, so we pay for the breakfast out of that portion.
Right.
Okay. For other hotels, there's a debate as to how that would be best run.
I could just imagine it could be, it's always the inevitable debate in a hotel, how much actually gets allocated for each section, whether it's F&B or rooms revenue or whatever.
Yeah.
And if that is, I don't know if that's tied down in the agreement split.
Is it for the first two hotels, the ones which we got, there's definitely breakfast included. And then for other ones, it's actually it's an interesting point to see whether that's what they want to carry on doing. And if not, then obviously there'd have to be amended for that.
Is the allocation transparent to the owner?
It doesn't make a difference because it's just that, let's say, bed and breakfast hotel room is £150 a night. That's split down to £75. And from our £75, we don't find to pay for breakfast. So in fact, you're making money from the breakfast in an indirect way.
Nice.
Do you have any banquet facilities?
Sorry?
Do you have any banquet
No,
facilities?
not these hotels. It's something which is not the core strength of what we're after. For example, the one we have in the city is right next to the brewery, and so they have all those facilities in the house. We're not competing with them. We do have small breakout rooms, but it's restaurants and rooms which
We're not selling to hotel as, okay, we're going to give you a cheap room, but then we're going to charge you more on, on the banquet of 100 people.
No, that's not it.
Alright, you said that the first year's guaranteed, right, in terms of the
Minimum guarantee, yeah.
minimum guarantee, and then what about the second, third years, like how has it been?
There's nothing on this.
Okay.
You've got to feel comfortable with the hotel, you've got to feel comfortable with regular valuations, and that's where you're really buying into get exposure from. But really importantly, within the contract, you've got to ask what happens if we really screw up, what happens if we just don't deliver. Within our contract, there's a breakout clause. This breakout clause is linked to base rate, and in this client it's 4.5%. If we're not returning net yield, let's just forget about capital appreciation, at 4.5%, for only 3 years in a row, 3 years out of 5, the room owners can vote and force us to sell them back a freehold for £1. That's how sure we are, and that's how strong we are about this business. And that actually means that we're not playing silly buggers and we're in this actually for the real game. And I think that's, if we were saying anything between the condo market in America is the condo market here, is the most powerful thing. Alignment of interest, a 50-50 split. Okay? The transparency, you can see how everyone's rooms are performing, and the fact that we're not doing well, you guys are left with a building. And what's so lovely about a building in central London? There's plenty of other people who run that as a hotel. If you don't want to do that and you want to sell it off as apartments, people also want it as apartments. I know we're going through a property thing at the moment, but it's always a requirement for these rooms. These rooms are in the centre of London. It takes a debate too. Let's say, would we do this in somewhere like Dubai? Well, we wouldn't do it in somewhere like Dubai. We're never sure where the shorelines would be, for example, or where it would be downtown, where it would be the centre. Would we do this in secondary provincial cities in the UK? No, we wouldn't, because the mix between the businesses and types of businesses is not as strong. Because in here, if the mining starts to fall, then the banking is strong, or the oil is strong, and vice versa. And the tourism is not just from one culture, one religion, it's from many religions, so you see quite a consistency throughout the year. And that's why we'd only ever look to other gateway cities, such as Madrid, Manhattan, and that nature. Because it's important to know that at the end of the day, you're buying into an asset which has a really defined sector.
One question. If you see this as an aggregation of prices per the valuation you have for each of the rooms, and you put this together, does this command a discount, or as one would suppose, or a premium respect to the price that someone would pay in an open market for the whole building as a hotel? Is this heavily discounted by the fact that you don't have this control over the asset?
Interesting question, and one I might leave with Salah, because I can tell you from my opinion, we know how we buy this house. We know. Do we like the area? Do we like the building? Do we think we can offer that class of service in that area and make revenues for us, and in turn make revenues for the room owners? And that's when we'll go and buy it. Now maybe we know exactly how much our limits are to buy and sell these things, and so maybe they can see us coming, maybe they can't see us coming, but I don't think the effect is enormous, because at the end of the day, all these properties are being valued third parties for whatever reason. But you've got the experts here, you should ask them.
I'm happy to have a discussion about that. That will come back to the point that you talked about current fees and whether that's 1 year or more. caveat whatever I'm saying. I'm not a private surveyor myself. We have a whole section of people that do that. I have done quite a few valuations though. So a little bit on the methodology of doing valuations. We would look at the income stream that is coming, the cash flow that is coming out of the hotel, and that would be after gross operating profit. Or can you get the P&L? Effectively, we're looking at the cash flow from operations. So we're looking at the room rate, and then room cost, and then departmental profit, then for food and beverage the same for spa, whatever you have in a hotel, rent, shops, whatever, and then you have undistributed expenses, and then unallocated expenses. And below that you'll have some management fees, FF&E, a sinking fund in the case of Guest Invest, and so on to arrive to a net operating profit or EBITDA, depends on who is saying. To that cash flow you project going forward in a normal way, you project cash flows. You don't do the projections based on the NOP, do the projections based on top line revenue, and again forecast cost, and sort of a daunting task that, unless you're really, really excited with doing that kind of work, stay away from it and leave it to other people. But at the end of the day, you'll have an NOP for 5 to 10 years, which you'll capitalize at year 5, or effectively year 6 or year 11 if it's 10 years cash flow, then you'll discount it till today. And that will get you to a net yield. It says net yield, effectively it means net initial. What you've seen in the slide, that you see the development over time, and you see the yields grow, that would be running yields going forward. And the reason you see higher value today than before is very simple. If you start at 6% here, and year 2 you do 7, and year 3 you do 8, and you sell it today at 6%, you have 2% different, which is capital value. Okay, so that's one of the methodologies that will show you that the price is in fact higher. Now, when we look at properties like this, it's quite difficult to say there's a uniform way to value them, because there are many, many different structures. So in theory, you should be looking at which interest you're valuing. So if I were to value that, for example, price that for Guest Invest when they're going in acquisition price, okay, there is a different risk profile to that investment as opposed to, for example, a bank that is lending on a single unit here. Because if that single owner is defaulting, how would you foreclose on that unit and sell it? You see the risk? It's slightly or more different than having the ability to sell the entire hotel. Okay? So it depends who you value it for and at what stage of the life cycle of the property. But provided you keep a tight control on the development, and if you're buying from a developer with track record, then you have not only the financing, but the bank that is financing the transaction and acquisition, and the fund itself lends you the money, and the market is the way it is, there's a very small chance that any risk like that will ever happen. So, and if you look at it this way, these hotels would have normally far better management than a buy-to-let apartment that you simply have in a place. So the chances of that being vacant as opposed to a flat you have in London are, I would say, about the same. But they can vary, to be fair. Now, if we go back to what you said before, and the question about guarantees, is that income guaranteed? Is that a lease? Who think this model is a lease, as opposed to a pure risk operational cash flow?